Let's see. I think I am finally live. Can I invite somebody? To go with me. Let's see. Manage. About dashboard. Let's see. Edit. Public. No restrictions. Scott has never aired. Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to open this up so that Miss Jinx can join me. Sorry, I have been struggling to go live on this laptop. I don't know what is going on. Comment moderation, customize. Hi. Thank you guys for coming over and being patient with me. I really appreciate it. So it looks like I am not going to be able to. I don't know why I can't add Jinx. Okay. Well, can you all hear me okay? Is my volume like decent? Hey, Miss Susie? I might just have to. Okay, thank you, Jinx. I don't know how to add you to this stream, so I might just have to. Let's see, participant. I might just have to like wing this by myself, which I don't really want to do, but I've been trying to get this going for like forever. So let me go ahead and pull the documents up really quick. Delete that one off and copy this. Thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate you all coming over. This is the first time I have live streamed since, well, for a while. And I haven't done one from the laptop. So I was hoping it might be a little bit more reliable than the phone I used last time. I had so many problems with the phone, like dropping or the video. I just had a lot of issues. I'm not very tech savvy, and it really kind of made me scatterbrained, and I squirreled a lot. And so I was hoping to use this laptop. So thank you, Jinx. I appreciate you. So I am leaving my camera off, but I'm going to share my screen with you guys. If I can't figure that out, then we just need to shut it down. But I think I've there was something just a moment ago that said share your stream and then share your screen. Highlight video, stream maker. Yeah. Well, where did it go? So fun. Okay, thank you. That's share screen. Where's the other one? I'm almost there, guys. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to do this though, right? Like I gotta get past my fears and just do it. I've been avoiding going live just because I didn't want to look silly trying to figure it all out. And the truth is, I can't really worry about how silly I look. If I want to get on here and start making lives, I just kind of have to get used to it as I go. And you guys get to laugh with me. So I get it. I understand that. It just took a while for me to be okay with it. All right, let's see if where is okay, there it is. What in the world? I have the avail. Oh man. I'm just gonna do it this way. Window. Oh, shoot. Live streaming. Oh crap. Let me do that. Almost done, guys. I think I am. It seems like I'm almost done. It's this one. Okay. Can you all see my screen? My yeah, my screen. My chance. Can anyone see anything? You can, Jinx? Oh, good. Okay, just tell me if let's see. Okay. All right, can we see that now also? Okay, we can. I just pulled it up on my phone. All right, good deal. Yay, okay. All right, let me turn the volume down so there isn't any. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming over and being patient with me. I'm so grateful. Thank you. We were supposed to have Jinx come on, and she was going to talk with me about this. But I cannot figure out. I think I'm going to have to use StreamYard or a streaming service to be able to do a live. And I didn't have it. I don't have it together for this live, so I'm just going to go do it this way. Hey, Mr. Ron Logan, good to see you. And Miss Faye, Truth and Justice. Hey, thank you for coming in and rescue all the dogs and grandmommy. My friends, thank you guys. Miss Susie. Night Shadow. Hi, it's good to see you. I think I got everybody. All right. So yesterday I was reviewing this motion to suppress Richard Allen's second statement, and this is kind of where I really this is the interesting part to me, I guess. It's where my brain really starts like digging and trying to find what is true and what might not be true and who's telling the truth, motives behind why things might be worded a certain way. Just inside, once we get closer to the trial and start getting more details with the court documents and motions, it just seems to really grab my interest. So I had mentioned to a group of my friends that I was really wanting to go live about it. So here we are. Just really briefly, obviously, this is a criminal case in Indiana for Richard Allen, who has been accused of the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. They were murdered on February 13th, 2017, and it was located in Carroll County, which is Delphi, Indiana, and it has taken 7 years to get to where we are today in the court process. So that's just a little brief history on the actual case itself. I don't foresee anyone coming over here and diving into a motion to dismiss a second statement if they don't know about the case, but just in case, I wanted to make sure and briefly discuss that. So this motion goes over, so Richard Allen is incarcerated, and he has been since I believe it was like November, end of October, beginning of November 2022, and he's being housed in a prison in Indiana. His defense team has been really just I feel like they've really crossed the lines as far as their ethical obligation when filing motions within this case. They're really trying to persuade the public and hopefully set up for a possible mistrial or a not guilty verdict, which I understand. The defense it's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. And they are definitely defending Richard Allen to the fullest and believe that their client will be proven not guilty. I do not believe that. However, I'm not one that jumped on this this Richard Allen is guilty bandwagon, as most people talk and call it. I didn't just jump on that. I didn't just discover one day that I wanted to accuse him of being guilty. It took a while. I was one of the last out of the group of my friends to really, for things to start sinking in for me. And we can talk about that another time. But I try to keep an open mind, and even to this day, I'm open to if there's evidence that shows that Richard Allen is probably not the bridge guy or the person that committed these crimes. I'm okay with going forward, or well, I'm okay with that verdict if that were to be the case. However, the evidence that they have and what we've kind of discovered over the last several years, I don't see any way in which he's not guilty. So excuse me. You're right. Yeah, a few prisons. So this motion, I'm going to just read through it a little bit, and I'm going to probably just veer off of my notes since everything is kind of doing this by the fly now. But I'm going to just read through this, and I'm going to do some commentary as far as some of the statements that they make. And we're going to look at both the first interrogation that was done on October 13th, as well as the second interrogation that was done on October 26th, and find there's a case that the defense seems to be referencing quite often when referring to the second interrogation. And they believe that they have shown that there is cause to dismiss the second statement. And I'm going to tell you why I don't believe that they have shown or proven that they have grounds for dismissing it. So maybe once I start reading, my nerves will calm down a little bit too. Thank you. Thanks, Jinx. Thanks, guys. All right. So State of Indiana versus Richard Allen. The motion is suppressed. The accused's second statement. Comes now the accused, Richard Allen, moves to suppress all statements from his October 26th interrogation at the hands of Jerry Holman, who apparently, they're stating, failed to read Rick Allen his Miranda rights while yelling and swearing at Rick Allen, lying to Rick Allen, and attempting to intimidate Rick Allen behind a closed door in a tiny interrogation room at the Lafayette police post. That's just laughable. Additionally, a key portion of the videotaped interrogation provided to the defense is missing. The missing portion of that video is the beginning of the interrogation when Miranda should have been read. So that's just what they're stating is the overall. We'll keep going. I find it laughable, though, that I feel like I'm watching a cartoon character just jumping up and down, yelling and crying. They're whining about how they've been treated and how Rick Allen has been treated. I'm not sure how they felt that an interrogation or an interview, as I often have been referring to it as, is supposed to be. I'm not sure. They know what an interrogation looks like, sounds like, and is. They're just pointing out whatever they can to see if it'll fly, to see if it'll stick. And Yeah, there's a lot here. So, the first interrogation, law enforcement requested that Rick appear at the police station in Delphi to answer questions. And he voluntarily went to the station on October 13th and sat down with the police. They say he states through his attorneys that he was going there thinking that he was going to be assisting them in solving the Delphi murders, as though like a citizen in Delphi, Indiana, can go in there and assist the very professional experts that have been working on this case for the last 7 years. But having that mindset, they say that he went in there to assist them with solving the murders since he'd been on the trails earlier that day, on the same trails that the victims had been on and where they disappeared from. Rick wanted to help out any way he could, and that is clear in the video. The video was previously provided to the court September 18th of 23, and the second interview from October 26th is on its way to the court and should have probably already been there by now, as though the court didn't have that, if it exists. I'm still confused with some of their choices and wording, but we're going to continue. So the two officers that interviewed Rick on that day were Tony Liggett and Steve Mullen. He was read his Miranda rights, and he signed an advisement of rights form, which is normal protocol for law enforcement before an interrogation begins. And I just want to highlight, I just want to take a minute to point out something that my brain automatically thinks when I'm reading through these motions that have these words and references and things that sometimes I don't understand. This is something that my brain kind of just kicks back out at me when I'm reading these. So it says that he was read his rights, his Miranda rights, and then he signs a piece of paper. It's called an advisement of rights. It's a form that most people sign when they're being interrogated. But I guess you can't highlight this when it's in this view, but that's okay. It says it's normal protocol for law enforcement to give them this form before an interrogation begins. And my brain automatically says, okay, the defense team is telling me that this is normal protocol for Ellie, but I need to make sure and verify that it is normal protocol. Now, I'm not going to go in and determine whether or not, hey, Miss CJ, hey, I'm not going to go in and try to figure out if this form is given for each interview right now, because I feel like it'd be redundant, but that's just kind of how my brain works. I'm not going to take the author's word for everything that they say. So that might give you a little bit of insight into, the way my brain works and why I dissect things differently, maybe, or the same as you. But so let's keep going. For the first roughly 3/4 of the interview, it is apparent their grammar is horrible. It is apparent that Rick believed he was assisting the police in their investigation and in their search for those that murdered the victim in the Delphi case. And I'm going to point out a few things. There is more than one victim in this case. There are two. They've already stated that they believe their client was assisting the police. Like Inspector Gadget would show up into highly trained facility with experts to interview a an accused murderer. The murderer was going to show up and solve the case. That wording, it just drives. I don't know why, but it is offensive to me. However, they're stating that that's what they're stating that that's what his thoughts were. So again, they're reiterating it. They want us to believe that he wasn't going in to an interrogation. He wasn't going in for an interview. In fact, he wasn't even asked to come in. He was coming in for an interview to help, not to be interrogated. And this is just with the first interview. So that becomes important later whenever we're discussing the second one, as well as comparing them to the case that they refer to. However, eventually when it became obvious that Liggett and Mullen were actually pointing the finger at Rick as the killer, and then there's nothing. There's no other sentence. However, eventually when it became obvious that Liggett and Mullen, the investigators, were pointing the finger at Rick Allen as the killer, period. What was obvious? That they were pointing the finger at Rick and the grammar drives me nuts. Sorry. At one point in the interview, Rick said, "I don't want to be somebody's fall guy, and we're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit somewhere they don't fit so we can close this thing. I'm not saying you guys. Please don't think I'm questioning your integrity. That's not what I'm saying." And again, we have Richard Allen in his own words now being quoted as the super duper investigator gadget coming in to save the day and solve the murders of Abby and Libby. And that gives me so much insight into this guy's thought process as far as how important he is. We're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit so we can close this thing. What? Where in the world where did he get we? Okay, so let's keep going. However, when the Liggett and Mullen, However, when the Liggett and the Mullen, okay, I'm going to assume that they mean investigators, but however, when the investigators, Liggett and Mullen, amped up the intensity of their questioning, even positioning their bodies closer to Rick says the following: "It's over. I was perfectly fine. I was cooperating. I was going to give you my phone." And then, when you started reading all these documents, that's at the... Here's my thing. Thing is, I feel like you guys think I done this. So I'm done. I'm just done. You do what you need to do. It's your job. I understand that. But you better fucking leave my reputation out of it. So you do what you need to do. And then, like I said, when you do find this guy, I'll expect the apology. What? Are you serious right now? Rick then described how police were trying to ruin his reputation by accusing him of the murders in public. Well, that didn't happen. He says they were even groping him as they patted him down in the street. I'm interested in finding that body camera footage because I would personally like to see. I hope that he got I hope that he was handled a little rough. I don't think he was being groped in the ways that they're stating. Obviously, they didn't, but I'd still like to see that footage. Rick was expressing that the mere act of mentioning his name as a possible killer or patting him down on a public street as if he were a criminal would ruin his reputation, and it was greatly upsetting. We're finally, anybody else kind of realize that we're finally hearing some of his own words being spit here? And I find them so interesting. They're so interesting. Liggett and Mullen did read Richard Allen his Miranda rights before they began their interrogation. And additionally, Rick Allen was aware that he had freedom of movement as he ultimately stood up and walked out of the interrogation room. This is really important. This is very important for what we're going to discuss here in a minute when we get through the second interrogation. Let me look at the comments really quick. And love how he does that. He would have to give that up anyways, his phone. Right? Yeah. Too much time at the bar, not watching cop shows. I would like to compare his voice as well. I'm sure that I'm certain that it would most likely match, but I agree, CJ. I think it would be interesting to compare them as well. So wait, he's speaking about his reputation, but he is basically a ghost, and nobody's heard of Richard Allen before now. Right. He thinks really highly of himself. He's hidden out this entire time, right? He's a nobody. Nobody knows him very well. We certainly don't have anyone coming to his defense after these allegations. And he really thinks he is something special. I mean, he's worried about his reputation. He thinks he's going to come in and offer some kind of expert like opinion that's going to solve the murders of Abby and Libby. And he's helping these experts, these investigators, and he is, yes, he thinks highly of himself. I'm trying to track the behaviors and responses of this person who has been portrayed as sociopathic and has began exhibiting mental health issues after being arrested, after supposed mistreatment in the facility, and after he encountered prison guards who practiced a different religion than he is accustomed to. And so those things apparently contributed to his mental health now. And they're claiming that his mental health has been affected so much that it made him confess to the crimes he's being accused of. And I'm trying to see a pattern here. I'm trying to see where in the world these mental health where the precursors are. I'm just trying to understand the person in general, Rick Allen. So, all right, let's see. Right, it's not even close to what happens in. Yeah. Okay. All right. So Where am I? That's not what I'm saying. So he's not questioning, the investigator's integrity. He's not. That's not what he's saying. He's just basically he's saying you're not listening to me the way I want you to listen to me. You're not agreeing with what I'm saying, and I do not like your line of questioning because you're pointing fingers at me and it's uncomfortable. Please stop. That's what he's saying. However, when the Liggett and the Mullen, did we do that one already? No. Yeah, we did. So patting him down on a public street, it ruins his reputation. Mentioning his name as a possible, you know what, friend? Do you know how many people have been mentioned as a possible bridge guy in the last 7 years? And you want to throw a fit? You want to throw a fit over the crimes you committed, and you don't want to be associated with, the nerve. Liggett and Mullen did read Rick Allen his Miranda rights before they began their interrogation. And additionally, he was aware that, we wrote that. He was aware that he had freedom of movement because he ultimately stood up and walked the hell out of there. However, at the end of the interview, that turned into an aggressive interrogation, Rick made it clear that he no longer wanted to talk to law enforcement. Okay. So that tells me that Richard Allen, the defendant, who was being interviewed / interrogated for the first time, knows how to stand up and walk out of a room. He understands the way locks work. He knows how to unlock the door, walk out, and shut it behind him. He demonstrates the ability to understand what his rights are, as well as to say, I'm done talking. I don't want to speak to you anymore. And I am not under arrest, so I'm going to walk my ass out of this room. That's what he did the first time. That's what they're telling us in this document. Okay, good. I'm glad. Within hours of the first interrogation, Liggett drafted an affidavit for a search warrant. Judge Daner then signed the warrant to search his home and his vehicle. And on that day, Rick Allen's vehicle was also seized. All right. The defense will not be seeking the first interrogation to be suppressed. And that was so interesting to me. So the second interrogation happens. Let's just keep reading through it. On October 13th, 2022, Kathy Allen, which is Rick's wife, and Rick Allen asked the state police, where can I pick up my vehicle that you took? And they replied they could pick it up in a couple of days. Right? So they're calling and like, where can I come get my vehicle? Like, I need my vehicle. And okay. That happened on October 13th. Isn't that the day that they seized it? And they're already asking when they can come get it. So I just want to make mention that that's the same day. All right, on October 17th, 4 days later, it was either Kathy or Rick who contacted the state police. And they, again, wanted to know how and when they could get their car back. They were in need of that vehicle because Kathy and Rick were having difficulty sharing one vehicle. They work in two different places, so they need two different vehicles. Fair enough. I'm not going to complain about that. I understand. I'm sure it was difficult. Whatever. That was after 4 days. After a few phone calls with state police, finally on October 26th, that is 9 days after, so 13 days later, almost 2 weeks, Rick and Kathy were scheduled to arrive at the state police post in West Lafayette at 9 a.m. to pick up their vehicle. I want to know who scheduled this appointment. Yeah, exactly, Jinx. It has not been released. It's evidence. So 13 days after they seize the vehicle, they make an appointment to go pick it up. Let's see. I want to make sure I get this correct when I okay, let's see. After a few phone calls with police. So they called several times, bugging them about this damn car. And finally, 13 days later, Rick and Kathy made an appointment. I'm going to read it that way for a reason. Because it says we're scheduled to arrive at the police post at 9 o'clock to pick up their vehicle. And I want to know what made them assume that they were picking their vehicle up at 9 a.m. and it was being released to them. I want to know who they spoke to. And I don't believe that. I think it's worded very carefully for a reason. They are making these motions. They word motions in a way to fit whatever they're claiming. For instance, the case in Indiana in 2019, State versus Ruiz, they're claiming that one of the things that Holman did was have Rick Allen come into the police station or to the Indiana State Police on this day, on the 26th, specifically for picking up this vehicle, but knowingly it was for this interrogation. And because this vehicle still has not been released, I'm curious as to, there's more reasons why I'm curious, but I am curious as to what made them assume that they were picking it up at 9 a.m. I believe the phone call probably went along the lines of, look, you've had my vehicle for 13 days. Are you still processing it? Because I need to come by and pick it up. And whoever answered the phone probably stated something along the lines of, I tell you what, why don't you come in and we'll talk about it? I don't see why we can't figure something out. That's my opinion, though. That's just me thinking out loud. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. October 26th, again, Rick Allen drove with Kathy to the West Lafayette Police Post to retrieve their vehicle that had been seized 13 days earlier by LA. State police had told Rick and Kathy that upon arrival, their car would be released, but never mentioned anything about questioning or additional questioning, I should say. So, yeah, I knew that was coming up somewhere. Hi, Mau. Hi, pretty Phoebe. Hi. When Rick and Kathy arrived at the station, Holman met them at the front and said, okay, shh, calm down. What do you want? Sorry, my kitty cat is very vocal right now. You're okay, Phoebe. All right. Holman met them at the front and said he just had a few things he wanted to clear up before he releases the vehicle to them. Holman requested that Rick follow him into the interrogation room without Kathy, and Rick complies. Rick arrives with Holman into the interview room. You're good. Okay, that's really important as far as the actions that both Holman and Rick took. It tells us their intentions of this meeting. et cetera. And we'll have to go back and reflect on that when we look at the case again. However, for unknown reasons, the video, did we skip? Yeah. Arrived into the interview room. What, baby? What? You had food, you had water, your litter is clean. Ow. Stop. That hurts. Sorry. For unknown reasons, the video provided to the defense is missing the beginning portion of the interview when procedural matters are typically handled by law enforcement, such as the reading of Miranda, advisement of rights, and confirming with the suspect that he is free to leave if in fact the suspect is free to leave. Thank you. Thank you. I did. We got both of them. We got Ross and Phoebe. Oh, sorry. Let's see. There was. So here again, the defense is telling us what the proper procedures are for police officers and investigators at the Lafayette State Police Post to follow whenever they are giving us, whenever they are giving someone, I should say, doing an interrogation or an interview with someone. Those are the proper things that they're supposed to supposedly follow. Okay. Oh, sweet girl, you're making me like squirrel. In this case, either the camera was only turned on after they were already minutes into the interview, because the video provided doesn't show Holman and Rick entering the room, sitting down, and beginning their conversation or their interrogation. Or they say the camera was recording the entire time, but the beginning of the interview was later edited out before being turned over to the defense. And they apparently received this this interview, the recording, in February of this year, just a couple. And all right, either way, the beginning of the interaction between Holman and Rick in the interrogation room, when introductions are typically made and Miranda rights are always reviewed, is missing. In the 7+ years of experience between co-counsels, this is highly unusual, especially on a high-profile case of this nature. The defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. I'm just wondering, was there audio with this video, or was there a transcript provided, or was there maybe just a single audio file? I have a feeling that we're going to find out in the days ahead. Prosecution has either turned over something to them, or the defense has just not found. I don't know. I cannot believe, after, at that point, was it 6 years after the crime, that Holman would not read a suspect their Miranda. I have such a hard time. I just don't believe it. I really don't. Even if I just don't believe it, there are other things that support why this cannot be thrown out or dismissed. But I still just don't believe that he didn't. Maybe they deleted it. Maybe the defense deleted it. I'm gonna start blaming them for all the crazy theories that people are coming up with against the defense, or against the state. We'll start just blaming the defense. They did it. Let's look at the comments. Yeah, Ruckus is. I know we're not going to talk about him. He's not a good father anymore. uh, he's a lurker. Aw. All right. Oh, 3 Beetlejuices? Oh, crap. Beetlejuice. All right, I'm going to keep going. Phoebe, sweetheart, you are really digging your claws in me. It hurts. All right, where'd I go? Being turned over. Unusual. There's a lot of very highly unusual things happening around this very high profile case. I agree. The defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. Okay. To make matters more suspicious, Holman claims in his November 1st, 2022 report, which they say is memorializing his October 26th interrogation of Rick Allen, whatever. Why do they say it like this? I don't understand. He states the following in his report. I asked Mr. Allen if he remembered the other detective reading him his Miranda rights, and he said yes. I told him he was free to go at any time and that the door was unlocked. So Holman's saying there's some liars too. That's what Holman is saying. Y'all are liars. Okay. Holman's report doesn't identify who the other investigators are that purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Holman's report doesn't detail when, where, or how these purported investigators purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. Holman's words quoted in paragraph 23 above appear nowhere on the video. In other words, Holman is not shown asking Rick Allen about his rights, nor is Holman viewed telling Rick Allen that he is free to leave. Okay. In his report, Holman indicates that those words were stated to Rick Allen at the very beginning of the interview. The beginning of the interview is missing. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for any Miranda or waiver of rights form signed by Rick Allen on October 26th. The defense has found none. So that answers my question. I was wanting to know. There you are. Hey, Pops. Oh, so that does answer the question that I had originally, which is, did Richard Allen sign a waiver of rights on the 26th, like he did on the 17th? I think the 17th. Let's see. I wrote it down. I'm just kind of reviewing what I wrote. Yeah. Yep, that's what I wrote down. Okay. So if he did sign one, they don't have a copy of it, is what they're saying. And to me, that's important because that's just another indicator that he was read his rights and they have the paperwork. But I don't think that you have to sign one every time you speak to investigators. Not if it's an ongoing investigation. I could be wrong on that as well, but I think that one covers all. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for any reports by state troopers who were on duty that day, such as Jay Harper and David Vito, who would have potentially read Rick his Miranda rights on October 26th, and the defense has found no such reports. It's interesting that they say this because this tells me, this supports my what I'm going to be talking about when we review the case of State of Indiana versus Ruiz, where they're claiming that Richard Allen was bullied and had such a difficult interrogation. He was intimidated and didn't realize he had rights, and he didn't know how to stand up and walk out the door this time 4 days later. And in that case, it talks about a single interrogator versus more than two, or I'm sorry, more than one, which would be two or more, obviously. But we'll go back to that and talk about it whenever we see it's coming up really soon. So, but that's important to me because it tells me that there are troopers on duty that they were aware of, who didn't yell and cuss at Richard Allen that day. That's what I'm reading. Justice Brad Holder's February 17th interview is missing, just as the mimicked crime scene found on Holder's social media page is missing and still hasn't been turned over to the defense, but the defense thankfully located it in Georgia. And just as Rick's original tape statement to Dan Doolin in front of a grocery store in February 17 is missing, the beginning portion of Holman's interview with Rick Allen is also missing. But see, I have some problems with that whole entire statement. They're insinuating and trying to tell me that I need to believe them, that there was a taped statement to Dan Doolin when Dan Doolin interviewed Richard Allen in front of a grocery store in February of 2017. And I'm just trying to understand why they believe that there is a taped statement that is missing. They say that Brad Holder's interview is missing from February 17th, 2017, yet there's a transcript of that interview, so therefore it isn't missing. They say that they're saying that there's a mimicked crime scene on Brad Holder's social media, and that crime scene is missing and hasn't been turned over to the defense. I think that what they're referring to is that there's a picture that is representative of or mimics in a way the crime scene that Richard Allen created on February 13th, 2017, and it is comparable to the actual crime scene, and that probably got deleted off Brad Holder's Facebook page maybe, and thankfully someone in Georgia saved it to their phone. They had a screenshot. I am being extremely like I'm very sarcastic right now. If nobody's picking up on it, they make me very sarcastic. All right. The defense has diligently searched through the discovery for audio or video by any law enforcement from October the 26th, in which it can be seen or heard that Rick Allen was read his Miranda rights or told that he was free to leave, and the defense has found none. There they are separating the audio and the video. That is one of the reasons why it just stood out to me, and it makes me look at documents that they submit differently, the way that they word things, because earlier they weren't talking about audio and video, they were talking about video. And now, about 10 different paragraphs down and 13 points later, they want to include its audio and video, and neither have been given to the defense, is what they're stating. Therefore, this time it appears to the defense that Jerry Holman's claims in this report that Rick Allen was asked about his Miranda rights and told he was free to leave are false, and that key video evidence would prove as much is missing. The following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at Allen's interrogation on the 26th, and it's shown on the videotape of said interrogation that was not missing or deleted, but was actually provided to the defense. Gosh, they have a way with words, and it's not a pretty way. They don't do a very good job with their words. Not when. All right. On video, Holman never read Rick Allen his Miranda rights, nor mentioned them to Rick Allen. And this is important to remember. We are looking at October 26th interrogation. Hold on, let me look at. People don't understand how the Miranda rights work. Interview has the right to remain silent, and the police can talk all they want. That's right. Miss P won't say the curse words. Oh. Which curse words? Yeah, you can get Miranda read to you without being arrested. Yes, face awareness. Crazy. Yeah, we are crazy, and I'm Southern though. I'm very Southern. Okay, all interview rooms are soundproof. The door locks from the outside, and the furniture is set up exactly the way for a specific reason, mostly so that interviewees can be observed. But it's also for the defense isn't wrong in stating that the door was closed and locked, and whether or not Richard Allen's back was to the door or facing the door, and where the investigator sat, and if he stood up, and if there was more than one investigator, and how long he was left in the room by himself. I mean, all of those things are planned out accordingly. They're done that way for a reason. It's part of the art of interrogation, and they're using it as though it's a negative connotation to this interrogation, when they're just pointing out the obvious. And they do it so frequently, and it's so frustrating because people read it and think that it has merit, it has meat and potatoes, and really we're just looking at Jell-O. Let's see. Law enforcement doesn't need audio or video proof that they exactly. They don't have to provide anything. They have to, when they do their rights, they do it, they provide it vocally and such to the person they're speaking to. But we don't have to have a piece of paper for every time we talk to the police. Hey, Aspen. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Okay. I learned something new. I thought they only did it when they take you to the cuffs. Is Ruckus talking about an interview room or his man cave? Yes, Miss Jinx, my fellow Southern sister. My accent doesn't really come out until I start talking with you, though. See, my accent would have really popped out if we would have done this live. All right. Every detail to where they sit and who says what is designed and delivered for exactly Miss Faye. Yes. After all, movie. Okay. All right. So I'm going to keep going. Yeah. That key video evidence that would prove as much is missing. There isn't anything missing, and what they might be claiming that is missing will probably be provided in some form or fashion. Like I said, whether that be a statement, a transcript, something like a mountain, molehill. On video, Holman. Oh, the following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at his interrogation on the 26th, which is the second interrogation, as shown on video of said interrogation that wasn't missing or deleted and provided to the defense. On the video, Holman never read Rick Allen his rights or mentioned them to Rick. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room without windows. He was placed in this tiny confined room without windows with the door shut. We're just going to, it's like, I think it's like that telephone game where I'm going to add on something to the statement and you will say your statement plus mine. And we're just going to keep playing. We're going to keep like telephoning down the line and see if all 15 of us can get the same statements correctly at the end. So that was sarcastic again, yes. So Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room with no windows, and Holman shut the door. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny confined room with no windows and the door shut with Jerry Holman while the door was shut. A considerable size difference existed between Rick Allen and Jerry Holman. Of course there is. Most people are larger than Rick Allen. And I've seen a lot of the jokes since yesterday. It's pretty funny, actually. A power differential existed as Holman was a state. Of course there's a... Yes, you are a criminal and he is an expert. He is a professional. Yes, there is a huge power differential that exists. I would hope so. I don't want to go get interrogated by my first grade teacher. I don't understand why they're saying this, except they're pointing it out. They're being very, they're pointing out the obvious. So Holman was much bigger than Richard Allen when he did this interrogation, because Holman is a big bad police officer with a trooper hat and the nice package, and Rick Allen was the small little CVS worker that hid in the he played hide and go seek in the aisles and sometimes would hide around like the Coca-Cola and Sprite 12 packs at CVS when he's working in Lafayette. So there was this huge difference, and you could tell, is what they say. Because he only had driven to West Lafayette to pick up a vehicle he and his wife needed for transportation. Okay, Rick Allen was never told that he was being videotaped. And I'm pretty sure anybody who's watched any type of investigation show knows that you're being recorded in an interrogation room, and audio recorded as well. But you don't even, the thing is it doesn't matter if you're being, they don't have to tell you that they're recording you inside their very professional expert office. When Jerry Holman would leave the room, he told Rick Allen to sit tight. Sit tight, buddy. Sit there. And he did this at 2 different times, at 9:25 in the morning. No, at 9 minutes and 25 seconds. I'm sorry. And at 45 minutes and 20 seconds. So he took a break after 10 minutes and after 45 minutes. He said, "Hey, Rick Allen, shut the fuck up for a minute. I need to go take a shit." Or I need to go take let me go get a drink of water. My mouth is dry and I need a drink of water, twice. And then he did it again at the 15 mark. 16-minute and 40-second mark to be exact, he told him to hang on 1 second. Much different than sit tight. In other words, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that Allen could not leave, which is untrue. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen to sit the fuck tight and hang on a minute. That's what he said. Like, I need to take a shit, is what he said. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to use it. There's a lot of different ways that men express that they need to get up out of the room and use the restroom, or get a drink, or call their wife, or just get a whole entire breath in without looking at Rick Allen's ugly face. Either way, all of those words combined are still telling them to, like, hold on a minute. I'll be right back. When Jerry Holman would leave the room and tell Rick to sit tight, he would shut the door. Most of the time, those doors shut automatically anyways. They just you just open it and it kind of pulls shut. In an office, most of the time that happens, but either way, because of the nature of their profession in this office setting, their expertise level of information that comes in that facility, it's very important to shut the door if you have a suspect being interrogated so they don't hear what's going on outside of that door. Much like if they were interviewing someone who came in for a job and sat in a room to discuss the career, and something is going on in another room nearby, they're going to shut that door so they're not interrupted and not disclosing what's going on in the interview room with that interviewee. It is not wrong. It's not illegal. It's a nothing burger. And it's, again, pointing out the obvious. They're really annoying. This, if you can't tell, this particular motion just, it annoyed the shit out of me. So 4 days after his first interview interrogation, Richard Allen forgot how to stand up, walk out of a door, and he forgot how to tell the police that he was done talking to them. Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen during the interrogation several times, including the following, they say. At the 7-minute and 10-second mark, that would be right before he went to take a piss the first time, Holman told Rick that we have experts that say that's you on the bridge, and that's your voice on the video. And the defense says that there's no evidence that supports his statement that Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen. How dare you, Holman? At the 15-minute and 25-second mark, that was literally right before Holman told Rick to hang the fuck on, give me a minute. Probably, I need to get away from your face. That was probably what that one was. Holman tells Rick that experts are saying that's you on the video, and experts are saying you said down the hill. And then the defense says there's no evidence that supports his statement, and Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen again. At the 15-minute and 7-second mark, same time, same break before, Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his pocket. Defense says that there's no evidence that anyone claims to have seen a gun in Rick's pocket. Holman lied to Rick Allen. I'm sorry. Evidence is tangible. And a witness account is it can be understood in multiple ways depending on who is the person receiving the information, how they perceive the information. And so I don't think that somebody saying I saw him with a gun, I don't think you can find physical evidence of that. All you have is what the witness stated. And the witness is, I don't know what their point is here. I'm trying to like figure that one out, and I don't know why it was in there, but I'm going to keep going. At the 39-minute and 5-second mark, Holman states, "I'm not lying to you about anything. Everything I'm telling you is facts. The experts say you said go down the hill." Holman was lying to Rick about many things, and not everything Holman told Rick was fact. Do you notice that we got another word in here? It confirms what we've been stating before, which is go down the hill. The audio has been manipulated, right? It has been edited for whatever reason. I don't mind. We only need what we... It's fine. It's not that deep. But we do get an extra word in here of what that audio states. It's just a little bit more of a clarification. And then we hear a little bit more of the defense whining about Holman lying to Rick Allen during an interrogation. And the thing is, guys, I know that everyone, we all know that police do not have to be honest in an interrogation, right? The whole snitches get stitches thing, like everybody understands that the first person that's hot gets this sweet deal. Like everybody understands that officers can say whatever they want to get you to confess in a interrogation, or like they really can. Now, whether or not it gets called into question later is another thing. I mean, there's some ethical obligations they're bound to, but this is a nothing burger. It's just nothing. There's nothing here. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, the prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you, lock you up, and throw away the key. The prosecutor and the other investigators, they want to see you, lock you up, and throw away the key. So does America. Jerry Holman barked at Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview. "If you don't tell me, you're going down for this." Well, in my opinion, if he does or doesn't tell you, he's still going down for this. There's evidence that he did it. Jerry Holman told Rick Allen in what was supposed to be an exploratory interview, "Do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this?" First time I have seen at least, the first time I have seen death penalty being inserted in this case, period. And it's being stated by Holman, apparently, if we're to believe what the defense is stating is true. And this is on February, or this is in October 26th of 20. Where are we at? It's 23, right? Yeah. No, 22. So in 2022, we were already, talking about this being a death penalty case. I At various times, Jerry Holman yelled at Rick Allen, including using profanity-laced language while accusing Rick Allen of the murders. Rick Allen asked Holman to stop the interview. Rick said, "I'm done," early on into the interrogation at the 12-minute and 5-second mark, but Holman continued his interrogation. I'm going to read this last one, but this is very important to understand. The state police never turned over the vehicle to Kathy Allen after Rick Allen was arrested. Returning the vehicle to Rick and Kathy was merely a bullshit excuse to get Ricky to come down and be interrogated. Okay. In the case law that they provide here in a second, it tells us that all of these things were either done or not done appropriately, and therefore we should dismiss this interrogation. And I'm telling you, when it says that Rick Allen stood up and said to stop the interview at the 12-minute and 5-second mark, Holman can keep talking if he wants to. He doesn't have to stop talking. He doesn't have to show Rick Allen how to open a door, how to walk out the door, and how to leave the office, the same that he did 4 days prior. Richard Allen is a grown man who they've already shown and established that he knows how to stand up for himself against police officers and state, "I'm done talking to you. I don't want to talk anymore." And then he leaves 4 days before this interview. And they're telling us he did it again. "I'm done," early into the interrogation at 12-minute mark. But the problem is Rick decided that he wasn't going to walk out the door this time like he did 4 days before. It's a decision. It is a conscious decision that he made. And then that, it talks about the very important point that the vehicle's never been turned over. They still have the vehicle 2 years later. Why? Because it's evidence. There was something with the car that obviously they could not, hand back over the vehicle. And they've had Richard Allen in prison, incarcerated this entire time. So it's not like they're holding it over his head just to be assholes. Like there's some, there's reason behind it. The point is that they're crying and drawing attention to things that are irrelevant, and then they're claiming things that might have some relevance and telling on themselves in the next sentence. So the law that they refer to, the Indiana Supreme Court dealt with a very similar fact pattern in the state versus ER, which reversed the Indiana Appellate Court, holding that ER's constitutional rights had been violated and that therefore suppressed his statements. We're going to compare and contrast this particular case really quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we're already at okay. What they've done is they have tried to match up both interrogations of Richard Allen with his name is Ernesto Ruiz. And this case was in 2019. I actually do have it pulled up right here, the actual court documents. Instead of looking at what they have put in there. We might just go through this really quickly. If police interrogate someone that is in custody, and that is a really important factor. They have to be in custody. Just because you're in an office with an officer does not mean that you are in custody. So if police interrogate someone that is in custody without providing Miranda warning, then their statements that they provide are usually inadmissible as far as evidence is concerned in a criminal trial. There's a few keywords here. Like I already said, in custody is key. Generally is a keyword here. And it's not saying that there is grounds for a mistrial. It is saying that that evidence can't be used in the criminal trial. In this instance, 2 officers interrogated Mr. Ruiz in a secured area at a police station and did not provide his Miranda warnings. When the state tried to use the statements that he made during the interrogation, he moved to suppress them as inadmissible, and it was granted. The state appealed and argued that suppressing it was contrary to law because Ruiz was not in custody, even though he was being interrogated. Finding substantial probative evidence that he was in custody, we affirm the trial court's decision. Now, this is where we get into like what I was saying earlier about why my brain goes certain places when we're reading these documents. I want to know if what they're presenting to us in these motions is twisted or contorted in such a way that's going to make me believe one way or another. And I'm not saying that that's always a bad thing. I mean, it's their job sometimes to try to get us to believe what they want us to believe. Or, like, I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. And that's both sides, prosecution and defense. So in a small windowless room in a secured area of this police department, 2 officers tag-teamed an interrogation of Mr. Ruiz, who was accused of a crime. Neither officer gave the Miranda warnings, and multiple times officers told him to sit tight in the interrogation room, similar to Richard Allen. Later, the state sought to use a video of the interrogation as evidence against Mr. Ruiz in the trial, and he moved to suppress it, stating that his statements in the video were inadmissible because they were made during custodial interrogation in the absence of Miranda warning. After hearing the evidence of the matter, testimony from the 2 officers who interrogated Mr. Ruiz, and the audio, video, again, that's 2 separate, again, I'm just making that known, it pops out to me, and the audio video recording of the interrogation. The court also heard arguments, which the court considered overnight, along with relevant case law. The next day, the court heard more testimony and argument, and then granted Ruiz's motion to suppress. In granting the motion, the court recognized rightly that whether he was in custody turns on objective circumstances. It then determined that the environment was a police setting in which multiple officers questioned Mr. Ruiz in an accusatory and focused way in a room behind several closed doors. The court observed that although Ruiz went to the police station on his own accord, that he had to be buzzed into that area or taken to the area of a secure room. And although the first officer told Ruiz that he could walk out of the interrogation room door, the court found that the statement in this particular context would not make a reasonable person feel free to leave. So we're talking about feelings. The court emphasized that after the second officer later entered the room, shut the door, and took on the role of the interrogator, Ruiz was not told that he could leave or that the first officer's initial statement remained valid. The state claimed, calm down. The state claimed that it could not proceed without the evidence that had been suppressed. And because of this, a jury had already been impaneled. The court declared that there was a mistrial. The state appealed the decision, and a panel of court appeals reversed it, concluding the interrogation was not custodial. Ruiz petitioned for the transfer, which we now grant, vacating the Court of Appeals decision. I'm not going to read the entire details to this, but I wanted to make it known that this is available. You can find it on my case. You can find it at Justia. There's multiple places that you can find it online. But anytime that a court document such as, this motion talks about, I want to make sure I really found that and just show you that you can find the court documents yourself and look at them and see. Usually they'll reference it kind of like a, you reference a source in a document, but you can always look them up. And that's what I did. The few points that I want to make as far as that case goes, gosh darn it. We are going to look at the custodial, was he in custody or not? Or actually, you know what? I'm just going to stick with what's right here. There's many of things I found throughout the document that you could compare and contrast to Ruiz, and as well as Richard Allen's interrogations. And in comparison, this was also in a small windowless room in a secured area of a police department, where two officers tag teamed an interrogation of Mr. Ruiz, who on the 26th of October, when Richard Allen had his second interrogation / interview, whatever you want to call it, he was also in a small windowless room in a secured area of the West Lafayette police post. But he didn't have two officers tag teaming him in an interrogation room. And at that time, this was before his arrest, he had not been accused of the crime yet. So there's two differences just in that first statement alone. Neither officer gave him Miranda warnings, and multiple times the officers told Ruiz he was to sit tight in the interrogation room. We don't have multiple officers in this case. We have one. And yes, he did say sit tight in the interrogation room, but you can state whatever you want. You can walk out of an officer can walk out of an interrogation room without the niceties. He doesn't have to say, "I'll be right back." Okay. Later, the state sought to use the video as evidence, but it was suppressed because they were made during custodial interrogation. Okay. That's where we're going to figure out custody. Was in custody, turns on objective circumstances. It then determined that the environment was a police setting. The court observed that although Ruiz went to the police station on his own, which that's what they're saying as well, that Richard Allen went to, it was on his own accord, But they also stated that they had an appointment set up. It was scheduled for him to go be there at 9 a.m. So I'm wondering, they claim both, that he did it on his own accord, and then that I guess you can do both. You can go on your own to an appointment. That's pretty that's pretty obvious. It's okay. He had to be buzzed into the area or taken into the area of a secure room. They don't discuss that in Richard Allen's interrogation. They don't discuss whether or not there were having to be buzzed into an area or what have you. And that does give context as far as if the trial court would rule the same way in this instance, which they would not. There's a lot of things that are different between Richard Allen's first interview, second interview, as well as compared to Mr. Ruiz. Told Ruiz he could walk out of the interrogation room door. The court found that statement in this context wouldn't make a reasonable person feel free to leave. So they're referring to multiple officers coming in to talk to the individual. And they're stating that because of the totality of circumstances, because they took him to an area of an area of the office where he had to be buzzed in and let in behind a closed door that was secure as well. On top of that, that's the totality of the circumstances. So that means also including having multiple officers interrogate him in an aggressive manner, as well as his statement stating that he is done, he wants to leave, but feeling as though that he cannot leave. Having the door shut. Okay, so the court emphasized that after the second officer later entered the room, shut the door, and took on the role of an interrogator, Ruiz was not told that he could leave or that the first initial statement from the first officer remained valid. We don't have a contradictory, we don't have a second person here. What was stated in the beginning was stated, is what it is. Just as though it was 4 days prior when Richard Allen vocalized and also acted upon the Miranda rights that were expressed and given, as well as when he walked out of that room, he knew exactly what his rights were. He knew that he could leave at any time. It was the same room. It was the same office. It's the same location. It's the same officer slash investigator that he spoke with. It was just as aggressive as the first time because they state both interrogation 1 and 2 were both as aggressive, so aggressive that they upset Richard Allen, and they hurt his feelings, and he didn't like it. And so the reason I wanted to bring, this particular document up was to explain that while they might have, this point, this point, this point, and this point that looks really good on paper, a lot of these things being ruled on in trial court are not so black and white. And you have to look at the entire incident in itself. You have to look at, if it checks all of the boxes for, each area that they're looking at to make this ruling. And it doesn't. We can sit here and talk about all the boxes that are not checked for hours. And just this document alone. I don't really want to, but the other thing I really wanted to point out is that even if, so I already understand through reading the documents and comparing it to this particular case from trial court that the case isn't going to, or I'm sorry, not the case, the interrogation or the second statement isn't going to be thrown out based off of anything. The first statement isn't even being challenged, and the first statement is where there were multiple officers. Again, the totality of circumstances doesn't equate to being able to dismiss this particular motion, or to dismiss this particular statement either. However, the circumstances are different when comparing them, and the defense have already stated they are not looking to dismiss the first statement, which makes so the defense says that this statement has nothing in it that has not been already revealed or known to the prosecution. The say that there's no new evidence, there's no new information in this interrogation / interview that was taken on October 26th, the day that they so if there's nothing in it that reveals any new information, and they're claiming that there's nothing special about it in terms of confessions, and everything that has been stated or has been found through this particular interrogation is already listed in the record somewhere else. Why are they wanting to throw it out? What would be the purpose of throwing out something that has no relevant information? Kind of like that first one, the first interrogation, the first statement that he made. Why are they not? There must be something here. Is all I can think is there's got to be something within this particular interrogation. Also, there is something that Richard Allen has stated in this where he talks about, I'm not a bad person, or Holman tells him that he doesn't think he's a bad person. Where is that? We didn't even get to go. Oh, sorry. We didn't even get to go. I didn't even look at all of and read all of the commentary from these interviews. I think that might have been what you were talking about, huh? Yeah, mommy. Where in the world did it go? Here we go. This was really important to me. It stood out to me, at least. Cherry Holman in this interrogation says, to Rick Allen, I don't think you're a bad person. And Rick replies, what kind of good person kills two people? To me, he's inferring that he's not a good person because he killed two people. I wonder, I think that there has to be more within this interrogation that, you know, the defense doesn't want to just reveal to us, of course, but I think there might have been a little bit of confessions within this statement, within this interrogation. I think that more of the confessions that he is given as time has gone on since being arrested probably reveals a lot more. But I believe that this might have been where he finally confessed, because he's referring to himself as a killer. He's referring to himself as a murderer in that statement. And then to the state of mind that he was in again, when we were talking about how he was just all about himself, me. I am going to help these professionals, these investigators, these experts. I'm going to be the one that comes in and helps figure out this case, and I'm going to give you all the information and, you know, puppy power. He has this mindset of his reputation is on the line just for having, yes, Miranda, exactly. His reputation is on the line just for being his name being associated with it being a possibility of being a suspect. And he, he doesn't. Everything is just centered around him, his thinking in this interview, just in the bits that they're disclosing to us. And another example is Rick replies to Jerry. He says, you're going to pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to fuck with me, but you leave my wife out of this. Leave me out of this. And Jerry replies, no, you are involved in this. Your fucking round is there, Rick. He says, no, it is not. So, in that statement, Rick is talking about, he's taking up for his wife, and that's great. But then, you know, you're going to pay for what you've done to her. You want to mess with me, fine, but you leave her out of it. And then he circles right back around immediately and says, nah, just leave me out of this. Like he goes and he makes himself, you know, a little less elevated and raising the pedestal for his wife, which is normal. I think that's normal for a lot of marriages. When one spouse elevates the other for whatever, I get it. And, you know, he's trying to protect her and he's trying to be the bad guy, and he's suffering from little man syndrome. He's a small guy. He's probably been made fun of all of his life. He's trying to be this badass Jerry Holman. It's very ineffective. He does not express the badassery. He just cannot grasp how to be a tough guy when it comes to men. And so, you know, he gets upset and he says, you're going to pay for this. You want to mess with me, fine, but not my wife. And then he says, no, not even me. Not even me. Leave me out of this too. He circles back to himself. And I really feel like this guy really embodies narcissism. I wanted to go into detail about a lot more, but I'm so scatterbrained, and we've already been on here for so long. I had a lot of issues with starting in the beginning, so I'm probably going to wrap it up now. I had some more points that were important to me, and if I can remember them or whatever, I might just put them in a like a community post or maybe in the comments or something and just discuss it. But I don't want to keep dragging it on, so I'm gonna go ahead and look through comments after. Yeah, we've already touched on most of it. So, all right. So, let's see. Golly, I can't. I haven't looked in a while, I guess. I'm so sorry, y'all. Turbo's in here. I didn't even know you were in here, Turb. Miss Miranda. And Grizz. Hey, Grizz. Do they have to read Miranda before they speak to him at all? And would the Miranda still apply from the 13th or no? So, oh, thank you. Crazy cat. Crazy cat. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my comments and they're all over the place. Um, it's different. Um, okay. What's so incriminating from the 26th? Because they had no objection to the interview on the 13th. He definitely incriminated himself. Exactly. What's so special about this that they're throwing the 26th out? I don't quite. There's got to be something there that they're not stating, but they're trying to hide it by bringing out all of the obvious things that seem to go in Richard Allen's favor. Either way, like I said, in my opinion, both interrogations / interviews will not be dismissed, period. Would like to hear the whole interview from the 13th. I would too. Right now, we're just getting bits and pieces. And from the defense's perspective as well. And that's definitely a biased perspective, just as if it would be biased from the prosecution. I mean, the state usually has, they can't really like just submit whatever they want. It has to be truthful, has to be honest. I mean, it can be manipulated or contorted or twisted in a way to make you believe one way or another. But usually those tactics fall within the defense because they're, well, I don't want to get into that, but making the person uncomfortable during an interrogation seems like a normal tactic by law. Exactly. It's very much so. That, well, at first, you try to get them to be comfortable enough to where they'll open up and talk with you. But eventually, the tactic moves into an area where they're trying to get you to speak, to talk. Yeah, you're gonna switch it up. Um, They usually take turns. They didn't offer him gourmet food or a drink. What a shame, right? As far as we know, Ari never once requested an attorney throughout either of these interviews, and that's on him. Exactly, Aspen. As I said, he knew exactly how to stand up and say, I want to leave, and walk his happy ass out of that room at the first interview/interrogation. 4 days later, he did not forget how to do such a thing. 2 weeks later, he didn't forget how to walk out of the room. He didn't forget how to say that he was done speaking with them. This is 7 docs in queue. Oh boy. Thank you, Turbo. One of the reasons, Aspen says, one of the reasons they don't want the first interview thrown out is that that's the interview Richard Allen said he was on the trail from 12 to 1:30. They definitely don't want that statement thrown out. At this point, Jinx says, I'm surprised the defense isn't claiming that law enforcement messed with the thermostat during his interview. That's funny to me. Actually, that's hilarious, right? They offered him hot water instead of ice water. Turn the heat on in the AC or in the summer. We clearly see why he was in the Hannibal suit now. He eats more than paper. That's awful. Right. Little man syndrome for sure. 2.1 million was something you wanted to talk about. What? More. Yeah. Thank you guys. Drink water. Ah, thank you. I'm trying to catch up with these comments. Every time I scroll up to look at them, they scroll back down. Okay. I bet his chair was hard and uncomfortable. What's it? Okay. Okay, I'm done with comments and I'm pretty much caught up. So, like I said, whenever if anything else comes to mind, I'll just throw them in the comments or whatever. But I'm gonna go ahead and probably close this up. Thank you guys for coming and listening to me ramble on about this. And thank you for coming to 2 separate streams and being patient with me. I'm hoping to be able to do this a little bit more. And the more that I do it, the less nervous I become and the more focused I can hopefully stay. So I'm also wanting to try to figure out what happened as far as having a guest on a live stream as well, because that had me so confused and I really wanted to have Jinx on here with me. So I'll figure that out. But I really, like I said, I appreciate you guys coming by and talking amongst yourselves and with me in the chat. Thank you, Aspen. Thank you, Susie. I appreciate you guys. Thank you, Jinx. Thank you all. I appreciate you guys. If I don't go ahead and end it now, then I'm just going to sit here and start naming everybody and saying thank you over and over. So, yes, Truth. Let's try to keep that hashtag out for for Abby and Libby, the hashtag justice for Abby and Libby. Let's keep pushing that out with pictures and positivity for the girls. And I will see you all again, hopefully soon. Thank you. Oh boy, now I gotta figure out how to oh, there it is.